Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Thunder Alley here. Today we're going to be discussing where the Chargers are at in terms of their health, and I'll let you guys know who I think will and will not play against the Chiefs on Sunday. So starting off with who I think will play, and that's actually Justin Herbert. So as we all know to this point, he re-aggravated his ankle injury. He came into that week with a high ankle sprain. He didn't look great in pregame warmups. He was trying to evade the quarterback coach and just didn't do a great job of it, but the Chargers played him because they felt like he was good enough to go. And for the first half he was, but then we saw in the third quarter, well, Herbert, he started to take some hits. One of them was pretty serious, and he handed the ball off the next snap and then never came back in the game. Taylor Heinicke was thrown into the fire, and he took 3 sacks, only completed 2 passes. So, yeah, just not great. Not a great thing for the Chargers to have your franchise guy and Justin Herbert play through a high ankle sprain, an injury that can hold you back the entire season if you re-aggravate it, and that's exactly what happened. In terms of Joey Bosa, I do think he will play. He was dealing with a hip injury coming into the game. He re-aggravated on the first play, and second half, I mean, he was seen in street clothes, so he obviously didn't return to the game. And then Rashawn Slater, he's hurt. I don't think he plays against the Chiefs. And Joe Alt, he's hurt. I don't think he plays against the Chiefs. So if Herbert suits up, which I do think he will, and it was reported by an ESPN reporter that he expects Herbert to go in this game. So he's going to be without his top 2 tackles. He's going to be without his star safety, of course, in Derwin James Jr., and then Joey Bosa, I do think, will ultimately play. Might not be a full snap count, but he'll probably be out there in some sort of capacity. This is a big game for the Chargers. They're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, a divisional rival, a team that they're trying to dethrone. The Chiefs are 3-0. The Chargers would love to send a statement by beating them in their own building. I just personally don't see why LA would play Herbert and even Bosa in this game. I understand that the goal is to win. You want to do whatever it takes to do that. You want to be there for your team. But this just cannot linger the entire season. Justin Herbert should not have probably played against the Steelers. And the same thing goes with Bosa. So the fact that they're going to roll them out there again without your 2 top offensive linemen after being hurt in the first play, I just don't really think it's a good idea for the Chargers. It sucks to say because Taylor Heinicke, I don't think he's going to be good enough to lead the Chargers to a win against the Chiefs. So you're basically forfeiting this game by resting everyone. But as soon as Derwin ended up getting that 1-game suspension, which he did appeal, so maybe he'll win that, but I don't think he is. And I'll get into Derwin a little bit more in a second here, but you guys can let me know your thoughts down below. I know I talked about this the day before the Steelers game, saying that, look, Justin Herbert's not doing as good as you guys think, and a lot of people criticized that video, which is fine, but look what happened, man. And I just think this injury is a lot more serious than people think as well. I mean, this could linger the entire year, and nobody wants that. No, especially for a guy like Joey Bosa, who has not been able to stay healthy, and even when he's been on the field has dealt with injuries that have held him back to being his full self. So it gets to the point where you've got an early bye next week. Why not just get these 2 weeks off and get healthy? Even if you go into week 6 2-2, that's still perfectly fine. You can win the division with that. You can win the AFC. You can make the playoffs. I just personally think that that's what the Chargers should do. But yeah, let's dive into the video. So let's talk about Derwin, and then we'll get into just overall where the Chargers rank in terms of their stats right now. We'll talk about it. So I thought Derwin was arguably the best player on the field against the Steelers. He had 8 total tackles as well as a sack. He did have a big-time penalty, unnecessary roughness for a hit on Pat Freiermuth in the third quarter of that 20-10 loss. The thing with Derwin is he's a very physical player, and I don't think he personally knows the mistakes he's making, and that's why he goes up to the officials and asks, what could I have done better? He personally feels like he's just making a play, he's just making a hit, which is respectable too. It's not like he's going out there and being dirty and trying to hurt guys. He's just playing football. But James, he has been called for 7 unnecessary roughness penalties in just 69 games in his career. For some context, Marshawn Lattimore has 7 in 79 games, and Jordan Poyer has 7 in 94 games. So you guys can see that Derwin, he's played a lot less games than those guys, and he has the same amount of unnecessary roughness penalties. So he's got to get that cleaned up, because this is almost one of the worst possible times to lose a guy besides the playoffs. I mean, Kansas City Chiefs in your own building, you would love to get this game, especially if Herbert is going to go in this one, which it's looking like he is. That's what Scheffner reported. So yeah, just not having him in this game, it puts you at a huge advantage too. And it is a little bit fishy that the suspension's coming against the Chiefs, right? Like, it happens. It's something's wrong with the Chiefs, man. Yeah, so that's the thing with Derwin. In terms of the defense for the Chargers in that Steelers game, they gave up 74 yards in the first half, 272 yards in the second half. I think a large reason for that is just the Steelers. They started to gain momentum. Herbert left the game. No Bosa, obviously, in that second half. Penalties extended the drives. There was just a couple of big-time drives overall for the Steelers in that half, and the Chargers didn't have an answer for it, which is unfortunate. But the Steelers, they deploy 3 running backs that are very, very solid. I mean, of course, they've got Cordero Patterson, Najee Harris, and Jalen Warren, and it just wore the Chargers down. But the defense was very good. Whenever you give up 20 points to a top team in the NFL, you normally expect to win that game. The linebackers played well with Henley and Perryman. They were very effective, just shutting down the outside runs and planting tight ends over the middle. Defense, one of the best in football for the Chargers, which is wild because the past couple of years in the Herbert era, they've been towards the bottom end of the league. So yeah, there's that. In terms of just where the Chargers rank overall, I kind of want to get into that in another video, so we'll just touch more upon the Steelers game and then we'll wrap this up. So as we know, guys, you look at the penalties that limited the Chargers. I didn't really talk about this in my last video, so we'll talk about it now. LA had Pittsburgh backed up on their own 15-yard line with an opportunity to keep them in the game. On 3rd and 4, tight end Pat Freiermuth caught a 15-yard pass and was face-masked by James, tacking on an additional 15 yards. 3 plays later, Justin Fields got the ball to Pickens on a curl route to the outside that Fulton stopped short of the sticks, but Khalil Mack was flagged for roughing the passer that gave the Steelers a first down. On the following 3rd down, 4 plays later, Fields was sacked by Tuli Tuipulotu that would have forced the Steelers into a 42-yard field goal. Asante Samuel Jr. was called for holding on Pickens after being beat on a corner route, however, refreshing the downs for the Steelers. While Pittsburgh still ended up kicking a field goal to go up 13-10, the drive took 6:26 off the clock and forced the Chargers into playing from behind with Heineke under center. And yeah, that's it, guys. The Steelers, they ended up holding the ball for 33-51 of the game. That's why the Chargers ultimately lost this game, aside from injuries, is the fact that penalties kept the Steelers offense on the field, and that ultimately would lead to the Chargers' demise. So they've got to play cleaner football. Nobody should have expected the Chargers to win after Herbert left. I mean, even going into the game with Herbert on 1 foot, he couldn't even walk by the end of the time he came off. It was just, that was the only reason. That's why I backed the Chargers, saying that I don't know why Steelers fans are talking trash. Like, a fully healthy Chargers team wipes the floor with the Steelers. Like, I don't even think these two teams are close. Justin Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in football. Elite defense, you've got a run game. Elite offensive line now with the addition of Joe Alt. The interior has played well. The interior for the defense has played well. I mean, the Chargers are a complete football team.